Hello everyone watching at home, you're with Adelaide Eternal, bringing you round 2 of the coverage from our Adelaide Eternal vintage. I almost said Highlander. I'm so excited about Highlander. We just finished Highlander last month. This is the vintage challenge. I'm Sarven McLinton and I'm in the booth here with Beckett, Wolfe.
Well, g'day guys.
So let's check out this matchup between Tim O'Hara on the right, aka Truckee, and Luke McLaughlin on the left, aka Scourge of Krug. Shall we have a look at said Krug list?
Well, we actually just watched the Krug list in the last video. This is just a shops list with the new Dominaria card, Traxos Scourge of Krug. Just seeing if it's going to work, and after testing it with Luke, he reckons it does. So he's got 3 of those in an otherwise stock standard list. And if you guys want to check it out, chat more about it in the last video.
I think there's a little bit of Scourgy Kruger action in the last video.
And there is a bit of Scourgy, Krugy, Traxos, man. Track shop. I'm calling it track shops.
Track shops. Done.
Track shops.
So let's have a look at Truckee's list. So this is Grixis Thieves. It's a relatively stock standard archetype. It doesn't mean it's tier 1. Grixis Thieves has always been in the meta all the time, always been a decent choice, but it's always been a little bit fringe. It's not as haymakery as Oath and Mentor and all of these, but I love it. Anytime you put Dak Faden and Notion Thief into the same deck, I will gush all about it. And we could do that right now. So a couple of things that make the deck tick are obviously its Planeswalkers, Dak Faden, Jason Mind Sculptor. It has a Tinker win con where you can tinker out a Blightsteel Colossus against shops to make sure that you win early against them, because you don't want the game to go longer, because you don't have the leisure of our round 1 action, which was a whole bunch of Swords of Plowshares, a whole bunch of Fragmentizers, a whole bunch of, Dak Fadens and Balancers, Snapcaster Mages to get the Fragmentizers back, and so on and so forth. So you don't want the game to go long, you just want to get a Blightsteel out. In the control mirror, you can side out the Blightsteel and you can just try and go for value, because you've got so many cool value engines in your Jason Mind Sculptors, and also the cheeky little misdirection to misdirect their Ancestral Recall to you. So how about we have a look at the game?
Let's get down to it.
Let's
I
see
haven't
whether...
seen misdirection in a while.
Oh no, it's pretty outdated. So what are the players doing? They're cutting some decks. So, looks like this is a mulligan down to 5. Mulligan down to 5 for Luke, and assuming he's on the play, a mull to 5 is fine, because you can just get out a sphere or something, turn 1, lock your opponent out of the game.
I mean, yeah, obviously not ideal, but Truckee's got 3 mana drains in his list. So
yeah, they're never ever going to get played. They're going to be pitched to Force of Will.
That's right. So it's going to be tough through any kind of sphere or thorn, but... mull to 5, if Truckee's got a Force of Will in hand, it could just be as simple as that.
Yeah. Ancient Tomb down to 18, there's a sphere, so none of those mana drains will ever be relevant ever in the game, except for being a blue card for Force of Will. And this is a Sapphire off an Underground Sea. Oh, this is a lot of mana. This is a good 5,
It's a pretty good 5.
So straight into the next... So, okay, we said mana drain will never be relevant. I would say that Tim O'Hara will never be relevant in this game, because he's out.
Now, did Luke not play the Mishra's turn 1 because he didn't want to get wasted?
Yeah, I think that happens. You don't expose it unless you need to. And here's Strip Mine for Tolarian Academy.
I think it would be in a lot of people's instinct to play the Mishra's first and be like, well, I'm going to save life. But against a control deck, it doesn't make any difference. So
yeah, well, speaking of not making any difference, here's a... is it Chief of the Foundry?
I think it's a Chief.
So that's going to make that 6 power attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is... the game is done. I mean, this is like... Your schnitzel is fried.
Yeah, that's 2 more swings, right? Yep. And he's got essentially 2 thorns out.
Yeah, and there's no land drop there, so just scoop them up. It's the end. Here's this is why shops is good. You can mull to 5, and as long as you have the explosive mana in your turn 1 and some kind of lock piece, you can make the game go long.
Fleetwood Mac.
Here it comes. And that's a lethal on that turn as well.
Wow.
Okay, so welcome to Vintage. If you haven't played Vintage before, these are the joys that you can experience. If you're on the left of the table and you haven't played Vintage before, that is one of the most satisfying feelings ever. It's your opponent never doing anything and you going like, I get to smash face with some artifacts. If you're on the right side of the table, this is the make or break where you go, I don't think I ever want to play Vintage again, and you flip the table. Trust me, it is worth sticking with it because when you go to games 2 and 3, your matchups get a little bit better.
Now, normal shops list, do they run 4 Fleetwood Max?
No, they don't. Now,
So that's one big difference, I think.
This is an innovation that there's
the aggro, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of names for different versions of shops. You've got Ravager shops, which is shops with Arcbound Ravager in it. So, and this doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, this is the only thing with Ravager. It's just that it's the defining card in the archetype. And usually Ravager shops is defined by having Steel Overseer in it and trying to get those counters, especially with Walking Ballista. Then you've got car shops. Car shops is where you put vehicles in the deck and you drive around. You just kind of, I mean, people see you rolling, they hate them, and here go 2 Ravagers. Ravagers are out, and in come 2 foil Grafdigger's cages from the original printing. And then, so car shops has Fleetwood Max in it, and sometimes they have a curve topper right at the top where they have like a, what's that one called? It's a big flying ship from Kaladesh. They have that at the top of their deck, like it's like a 5 mana thing, and it's there for the mirror. Really, really good at just grinding out value on the mirror. Then you have Trax shops. You got Trax shops, which is the new one that's coming out now, and you know, all of these decks play elements of the others, but they're really defined by a particular kind of card.
And only 1 or 2 changes, you know, in a long tournament can make a huge difference as to how your tempo goes. And I think Luke's favourite saying, at least I think Luke's favourite saying is, it doesn't matter if you're dead, Beckett. So the logic being, if you're proactive and you play fast cards and you get in there and you get the job done, it doesn't matter what cool innovation you might have. If you're smashing face with a 7/7 Trampler or a Fleetwood Mac with haste and it kills them 1 turn quicker, it doesn't really matter what you know, amazing things a different innovation could do. So I think that could be Luke's theory on why he's playing 3 track shops and 4 Fleetwood Max.
Yeah, that's it. So let's check out his hand to see whether it's got any of the aforementioned named cards in them, not the actual names, because our names for them are
seeing Soul Ring, a Grafdigger's Cage, and a land. So he's shipping
away.
it, and you know,
it's probably just one of those things where you're on the draw, and if you don't have the sphere, then you're going to be so far behind by going, well, I'll play some mana and then I'll play a threat, but my opponent has had 2 turns to do anything unadulterated. You know,
alternatively, it could have no threats. And obviously, Luke's played a lot of Modern Affinity, and he said that that's helped him with this. I think this is the first time he's played Vintage. But he's obviously a very experienced player, and he's played a lot with Affinity, and it runs kind of similarly. And he's obviously very experienced with mulliganing, and mulliganing aggressively. And he did in the last game,
this looks
5 and
better,
1.
but it didn't have any mana. It had a sphere in it. I'm like, oh, this looks better. No mana.
We don't get a lot of time to take it in. We're not pausing the video and having a look. All right. This is just off the cuff. You're seeing what we're seeing.
Here's Merchant Scroll.
Don't love it. Don't love it at all.
No, Merchant Scroll goes out for me. Back when Shops was running Tanglewire, I used to side out Time Walk as well, and everyone's like, why are you siding out a power? Time Walk is terrible in against Tanglewire. This is a keep on 5. There's a Founder Inspector at the front of the hand. There's a Scry to the top, and there's an Ancient Tomb as well.
And a Sphere.
So, yep, he draws straight into the Sphere, which was on top. And now he has to make the decision, do you play the Founder Inspector or do you play the Sphere? And he's playing the Sphere. He probably has more mana to back it up afterwards. Here's the Force of Will, the Sunbleached Force of Will. And actually, it's really good, actually, Sunbleach, with the red in the center. Have you seen how people Sunbleach cards?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they put things over certain parts of the card they want to protect. Then they put them on a windowsill for like 3 months. and then it makes them look really cool. But anyway, I digress. Here is a Mishra into a Grafdigger's Cage to prevent any Yawgmoth's Will shenanigans, and out comes a Sphere number 2. So this is a cracking of the fetch, and it's probably going to be a mana drain. As we said before, mana drain was completely irrelevant in game 1 because Truckee was on the draw. When you're on the play, you have an opportunity to mana drain. That's only if you have Force of Will, because you need to force the first Sphere, and then after that, the mana drain becomes alive. Here we see mana drain being played to its fullest potential.
Especially on the play. I think it's much more.
It's the only time.
And you could think maybe Luke's baiting out forces with the Sphere, but I think it's important to play
really
them
wants
early.
them to resolve.
That's right. He does want them to resolve, but there's no point playing the threat and then playing them because, just that one turn. Vintage is such a fast format that just that one turn extra that Truckee would be able to untap. There you go. There's a great example.
Yep,
He can
here's
cast
Jace.
something huge like that, but through a Sphere, he wouldn't be able to. So
That's it. That's why most of the time you sideboard out Jace and Merchant Scroll and so on. But here, Truckee made the decision that he's on the play and he's going to keep some of these cards for the possibility that he's able to counter those.
Well, that's right.
Spheres.
We didn't really go through the sideboards there with Tim, but it might be a case where he's just got too much to side out anyway. I think I'd always be siding out a Merchant Scroll, but yeah, I totally agree on the play. He can be a little bit more aggressive with keeping the drains in, etc.
Here's Library, and he will be on 7 cards next turn, ready to activate that Library of Alexandria. So, remember there's Foundry Inspector in hand, and the window for which Foundry Inspector is super relevant is gone, but it's still a creature, and it applies pressure.
Well, if he can... I was about to say if he can play...
This is an attack.
Mishra's can swing.
Pump.
Very
from
nice.
Jace. Yep, I'm way more into that play than just playing Foundry Inspector.
And he won't be out of Library now because he can't brainstorm with Jace, is that correct?
So he should be on 7 now because
he's
he only used
forced.
Force once. Oh no, you're
should
right
be on
because he's
6.
on the play, so he won't have.
If he had, I think if he
draw
had the
card.
Jace brainstorm, he'd be able to.
Yep, that's it. So this is make or break here. You know that the Grafdigger's Cage is in there to prevent Blightsteel Colossus coming out from Tinker as well. So that is definitely relevant on the board, even though it looks like it's only preventing Yawgmoth's Will. In reality, it's actually that Brainstorm. So yeah, it's the Ice Age art with a white border. Why don't I understand?
It's just some bleached.
It's yeah, when I see Brainstorm's awesome. So I like to play its original art. But then when you see people play the original art, but like a travesty of nature, like they play the Deck Masters version where it's like from this kind of old school dual deck where it was printed in white border, or they play.
Pretty sure I've got a white border Brainstorm.
Oh man, why are you doing it? It's just because you trigger me. That's why you're doing it, so that like it puts me off my game. The twitching in my left eye.
Got white border Mox as well, mate.
Don't worry, I used to. I did too. Mine still are white border underneath the altar. So we have fetch for Ireland so that he can shuffle away 2 dead cards. One of the cards might be Tinker or something if he can't actually destroy the
No
Grafdigger's Cage.
Underground
Jace
Sea.
number 2.
Wow.
So there were 2 Jaces in the deck. Wow, post sideboard. They're some of the worst cards.
Paying off.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
I don't know, is it though? It's
I
not.
don't know.
It's not.
Because you could Fate Seal and keep it alive. But
yeah,
then
that feels absolutely terrible.
it does because then I don't know. Fleetwood Mac kind of beats you.
Yeah, this has just been brainstorm into brainstorm into brainstorm. Durdle.
I think Brainstorm's better here because
it doesn't cost 4.
No, well, I mean, brainstorming with Jace is
brainstorm
better
with Jace.
because then Luke has to do the same play where he swings out at Jace and kills it, but he ruins his turn.
Well, the funny
and it
part
still
is
goes to a Fleetwood Mac either way.
that's it. Normally he'd be looking for Dak Faden, but Dak Faden is also terrible because 2 Mishra's factories are going to do a number on both Jace and Dak Faden. I don't know about these Planeswalkers, man.
So this is tap 3 lands, destroy target Planeswalker, draw a card.
Yeah,
Right?
That's
It's pretty good. I'd play that.
Now it's this is
Make
Foundry
things cheaper.
Inspector. Oh yeah, okay. So
that's fair.
it's Phyrexian Revoker naming Jason Mind Sculptor. But I don't know about this play because he gets forced, and here's Force of Will, force pitching force. See, I think I just like attacking because then you get to keep your your
But I
Revoker
guess
for Dak Faden when it resolves.
He can pressure Jace now with the critter, right? The critter is 3/2, so now he's in the same boat where he brainstorms
no, he's just
and
letting
Jace
him
dies.
brainstorm twice. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know.
Because there was no interaction for just swinging in with one of the Mishras. Swing in with a Mishra, play Foundry Inspector off Wasteland and Ancient Tomb, and you just get to kill Jace, have Foundry Inspector, and still have Phyrexian Revoker in hand, ready to play when something else gets named.
But Luke doesn't know that there's another force. I mean, he's already used a force on the one force already. I think I don't mind Luke's play where you get a creature out there. You say you get one brainstorm.
You still get a creature out this way, though.
No,
you don't. No, you don't. You have to activate the
You
plus,
get the
plus one,
Revoker.
plus one.
You can get the Revoker, but you're playing Revoker and swinging at Jace, and the Revoker isn't enough to kill the Jace. The Jace can brainstorm, and then you swing 2.
But I think you just attack with the Mishra to kill the Jace, and then play Revoker naming Dak Faden.
Oof, that's Dak. There's Dacky boy.
So this is why I don't like running
true.
creatures out. So,
maybe you died a snackdactyl.
Snackadactyl.
Too many names. I think our newer viewers are probably getting a bit submerged in there.
Submersion, all the memes.
Pretty bad.
Too many memes. So the previous play means you just attack Jace and you don't have or you have Phyrexian Revoker naming Dak, or it gets Force of Willed, and so either way Dak can't steal a creature.
So Tim's got no cards in hand, is that correct? And Fleetwood Mac is a pretty good one.
Yeah, Fleetwood gets to kill...
gets to kill Jace. I think you kill Jace because you're always going to be able to kill Dak because you've got double...
Yeah, but he can't
Mishras,
because
right?
he's got Foundry Inspector out.
Yeah. It doesn't have Trample, does it?
No. But he's just keeping it.
Interesting.
I think you just block, chump block,
there.
and then just Dak and Jace brainstorm to try and find another way to stabilize your board, and then you steal Fleetwood Mac, just so it can't attack. But still, either way, I way prefer being in Luke's position here because he's got 2 creature lands. He's got Fleetwood Cruiser ready to be crewed by one of those creature lands. He has the ability to just smash face. Even though Tim's life total is 16.
I think it just shows you how bad Jace is in this matchup.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. I hate it.
Like they were played into empty boards, which is exactly when you want to play Jace. And to even cast Jace in a matchup like this is tough because there's so many spheres. And Tim's been able to resolve it. And this is a mull as well. Remember, this is a mull to 5, right?
Yeah.
And Trucky's had 2 Jaces and a Dak Faden into empty boards, and he's still on the back foot.
Well, Tim has a Braid, double Energy Flux, and Hercule's Recall, and a Mountain to bring in, plus a Toxic Deluge. That's 6 cards to bring in. So I wonder what 6 cards he took out, because personally I would take out Jason Mind Sculptor, Merchant Scroll, Misdirection. That's already 4 cards that I can easily snap take out. And then sometimes you take out Yawgmoth's Will because they bring in Grafdigger's Cages for your Tinker. And also the fact that Yawgmoth's Will is really, really hard to do anything against spheres. So that's already 5 cards that I can see. So what I want, and then I'll take out a Mana Drain as well because you don't want 3 of them. My question is, what did he take out? If the Jaces are still in, because the Jaces
maybe
are
Mental
woeful.
Missteps, but...
and the Mental Misstep. Yeah. Is there Mental Misstep in there as well?
3 missteps.
Oh, wow, yeah. So the 3 Mental Missteps go out. At least 1 Jace goes out, if not 2. Misdirection goes out.
It just looks like it's... Tutor.
Vamp to Tutor you keep in, because you tutor for Tinker.
Yorgs.
Oh, why is he scooping?
Yawgmoth's
Will doesn't... You can't do anything because...
Grafdigger's
Cage is out.
Oh,
no.
What did he have anyway in his bin to play?
Oh, nothing, but Yawgmoth's Will doesn't win him the game, though.
It doesn't do anything.
Is that just one of those things where you present Yawgmoth's Will and you're just like, I win? Was he replaying Dak Fade and that's what he was saying? But even then, the manlands are good, right?
I had that recently in draft where I played Duplicant and it says exile non-token. And it was Duplicant on a Marit Lage token or something
and you're
that.
Oh, I can't. Oh.
And he just scooped him up and I was like, oh.
the more confidently you play a card, like one of those ones where they talk about, these plays where you're sitting across the table from someone, and you go into the tank, and then you call over a judge, and you go like,
Pithing
what is-
Needle,
yeah, no, what,
Birds of Paradise.
yeah, you call over a judge, you just say, Judge, can I ask you a question away from the table? And then they go away from the table, they come back down, and then you play Pithing Needle, and you look at your opponent, and the opponent goes, it resolves, and you go, Birds of Paradise, pass turn. and then your opponent, your opponent's just like, and they never tap that Birds of Paradise again for the rest of the game.
It's a huge play.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, where you just go like, I'm losing, I'm just going to just do something and hope that this works. Or the famous story of where they call over the judge, and they're just like, what type of token does Deranged Hermit make? And the judge is like, squirrel. And they go, okay, and you slide 3 cards in. And you wait to see whether or not the person takes out the Deranged Hermits, thinking that you brought in Engineered Plagues.
Oh, I was just thinking some random anti-squirrel specific thing, but yeah, Engineered Plagues makes a lot more sense.
Engineered playable. Actual playable
Big
card.
Big plays.
Anyway, so we are on a Force of Will in Tim's hand, as we can see, and they both kept their 7, right? So Force of Will forcing the Sphere is always good when you're on the draw, otherwise you can get locked out of the game. And here we're really looking for like VT into Tinker, right? So that's or you could just tinker right here. But like want a VT or MT or something. You just want to try and get your win con out real quick, smart. This could just be DT. There's a lot of T's. Or it's a MT, MS.
Yeah.
MT is mystical. So this is MMS. I don't know if that's the best name for a card. I'm afraid.
This is why Merchant Score is bad. I mean, it
Yeah.
searches.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 2-mana Force of Will.
Oh, it's woeful.
Against what's like this is even ideal if there's a Sphere out. That's a 3-mana one,
Yeah.
and then your Force costs 1.
And your opponent's just like, sure, get yourself a Force. I don't mind you mulling to 5.
Yeah, that's right.
Like that's okay. I don't mind.
And even then, like, what do you get? A call and
And now that your opponent knows that you've got Force, you're just like, well, which one are they baiting me with? Which one's the real thing? You have to force this because it just names Jet. Like, this feels terrible.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and here's the second one. Because they only cost 1 each. So that one also names Jet. So Tim is down to 1 mana. And I'm basically ready to scoop this game up unless he can cast Mystical Tutor or Mystical Tutor type effect now in order to find Tinker on top of the deck and have a Black Lotus. So this isn't actually a possible line simply because he doesn't actually.
So he
have
hasn't
Mystical
named
Tutor.
Jet. Jet has not been named. Maybe
his name's
Jace.
Jack Baden probably. Yeah. So here's Energy Flux. Woo, woo. Energy Flux is pretty big. So we've got Ancient Tomb to save one of them. So you probably save. Well, it depends on what the Revoker's naming. If the Revoker's naming something relevant, you save it. If it's not, then you just.
Interestingly, the Jet name didn't make a difference.
Yeah, it didn't because he could have just tapped the library. So Tim has 0 cards in hand, so he's riding the Energy Flux. He's just going to go. Energy Flux is going to get me there. But remember, there is a 3/2 attacking.
Yeah, and I mean, Luke was so far ahead that, looking at that last turn going, double
Traxos.
track, baby.
And this is to untap Traxos, ready for next turn, sacrifice both of his things, put the counters onto Traxos and attack for 9.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. He's just all in on this play. This is great. I
think
totally
that's what
love
you
it.
need to do.
It's
you need to be
fantastic.
all in,
Yep, so here we go. You put all the counters onto Traxos.
He's not playing a control deck. He's not playing a grindy mid-range or a value. Yep. He's just playing, I play lots of artifacts, then they interact, and now I win the game.
Play Traxos, go to 11, attack for 9 this turn. All he needs to do is play an artifact to untap it, and he's got lethal the next turn.
That's right.
So here we go. Is it an artifact or is it a land? This is a big question. Reading it to check and see. Rough. Talarian Academy. It looks like it should be... Oh, wait, it's a legend. Talarian Academy is a legendary card.
No.
But it's not a spell. Wow, it's a legendary land, trigger? But it doesn't trigger because it's not a spell.
The wording is historic.
You have to cast it. But yeah, it's legendary. So that's a historic... It's a historic spell, but Talarian Academy is not a historic... It's not a historic spell. It's a historic land, I guess you could say. So he needs to draw...
But he's got so many outs. I mean, he's got the mana.
Draw any artifact and then smash face. That was another Mishra's workshop. So
it's just showing he's missed a bunch, but
his outs are huge.
His outs are still huge. I mean, it's so hard for Truckee to interact. Truckee's got a bunch of counter spells.
He's just tapping the Soul Ring to pay for itself every turn, and he really needs to draw, I mean,
even if Truckee has some of his... Like, he can't play Deluge. Energy Flux is already out. A Braid...
Artifact done.
Yeah,
GG's. Untapped Traxos attack with Traxos. Has he got a Snap Custom Mage to block? Doesn't matter because it's got trample. Echoing Truth. That's right. Sure, play it again.
We're not getting anywhere.
And
the 2/3 will actually probably get there now.
I think he has to tap the Tolarian Academy.
Well, he can do both, yeah. He can still play both.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's got the Mishra's factory to play it. Mishra's workshop to play it. So yeah, this is now all in on what?
There's not much. I mean, Hergle's Recall doesn't do it. A Braid doesn't do it because you
yeah. It's all in on Dak Faden, right? Red Source Dak Faden.
Even then, even Red Source Dak Faden, you swing Traxos.
No, Red Source Dak Faden gain control of Traxos.
Okay, but
get attacked for 2. Go to 3. Next turn, play an artifact and be able to block with Traxos. That's the line. I'm not saying it's a good line, but it's probably the only line aside from Tinker. Toxic Deluge for 3.
Yeah, okay.
This is rough. Fade a draw step. Fade the draw step.
I hope my workshop player doesn't have any artifacts left.
Here it comes.
Probably
artifact, and that's GG's. There we go. Traxos is
2 multi
huge. Very, very nice. Hope you enjoyed that, everyone at home. Hopefully you're going to be sleeving up a Scourge of Krug yourself. And we will be with you in round 3 next. We're Adelaide Eternal.
See you then, guys.